You know, the last couple of weeks has been rough. And I mean really freaking rough. I've been sick and I've been sick and I've been sick. It kind of started with me feeling a little bit unwell, and then I started to feel better, and then I started to feel really bad, and then like this weekend that just passed, I was down. Like I was out. But hey, I'm still alive. Could have been worse. I'm grateful. So now we're getting back to it, man. You know what? I've actually been loving to use this Tribex tripod for the last couple of months. Once you get used to it, there's nothing quite like it. Hey, there we go. I gotta tell you that I'm really freaking tired of the snow right now. I cannot wait until it disappears. Talk about being dark. Did I underexpose this shot? Wow! But it feels good that it's actually thawing now, and that hopefully spring is arriving with good energy, because we all need that right now. Hello, Mr. Old Man. How you doing today?
Hi.
Hi.
Very good.
Any wise words, though?
Don't try to lift something by yourself. Use the machine, that one.
You're not a machine anymore. I'm the machine.
Yeah.
Feels kind of weird to be in the old studio again, huh? It's always kind of weird to think that this room in particular was something that I built over 10 years ago. And it's actually still standing. At least a little bit of impressive. And over the years, it's been kind of cool to be able to see this space transform and find its own look and style. But I was out here last week and cleaned this entire space out. Trust me, it took some freaking long time to clean because there was stuff everywhere. But it feels good to have a space that is kind of optimized for the things that I want to do now. And for those of you that are new here, and if you haven't followed me around for the last couple of years, then hi. I just want to introduce myself and say my name is Peter. I do a lot of filmmaking stuff, but lately there's been a lot of DIY that has kind of, creeped its way into the channel, especially when it comes to 3D printing and studio optimization and that kind of stuff. I don't know what it is, but there's something that gives me this feeling of joy whenever I do something myself, But I've also moved into starting to create my own merch, or I don't know if you can say start, but this was something that I wanted to do like 4 years ago, and I actually started my own brand called Prime Gear 4 years ago. And I did have a couple of hoodies and t-shirts lined up back then.
We got a package. I don't think I have talked about this that much on this channel, more on my vlog channel, but I've been looking forward to this. Oh, nice. Some of you might have already noticed this cap, which is a logo that I've designed so that I can actually start selling merch.
But I was never really proud of how the outcome was and the quality of the actual print and the quality of the apparel. So instead of actually selling the merch, I decided to keep it for myself and use it as my work clothes, if you may. And in a way, I'm a little bit sad about that, because I would have loved the Prime Gear merch brand to be a little bit bigger than what it is right now. But then again, now I'm doing this thing all again, but being in control with the entire process myself. Hoodies, t-shirts, more hoodies. More hoodies. Lo and behold, hoodies. All right, let's take this up. To the desk. Wow, heaviest package ever. Aye. Aye. Cool. full power. You know, the fun part with doing this again is that I actually started my very first business by creating my own apparel or creating my own merch. But back then, like one of the biggest things that happened to me that didn't allow me to continue with that was that I placed a very big order, huge order, completely forgot to calculate the tariff cost and the import fees. I was out. I actually had to take a loan of 10,000 US dollars or 11,000, like one of those shady banks. And that loan meant that I had a 17% interest to pay, which was horrible. And I remember to this day that when I managed to pay that off, I told myself, I will never do this again. Never. So with that said, if you want to pick up some cool Prime Gear apparel, then head over to prmgr.org and join the system because there's going to be so much more coming on that website. I am so hyped. And I really hope that you like this stuff because I've been pouring my energy into it lately. Okay, let's see if we can do some heat pressing. So I'm currently printing the last couple of hoodies, but it's going to be a full-on restock in the web shop, which is going to be pretty dope. And it's also very fun to be able to control the entire thing myself. Like being a part of the process is something that I think is cool. That's the coolest print for the back. These zip hoodies, by the way, are some of the absolute best zip hoodies that I've tried ever. Yeah, you're gonna let it go. That sound is incredibly annoying now that I've been standing here for this long. That is a badass looking hoodie. Established 1989, because I'm born 1989, and then 10-8 means active duty within the American police force. Oh, that was a nice sit down. I haven't actually been sitting down since 2 p.m. and it's currently 7 p.m. Also, my voice is starting to act up again, which is kind of weird, but I managed to get everything done that I was planning for, and it feels very good actually to have this out of the way. Thanks for today. Good old chair. It's kind of weird to be back in the space and do something different than what I did previously. But at the same time, it's also very nice to be in this space because there's so much memories like stuck in the walls here. I can feel so many things when I'm here. I think that that is pretty cool. But it also makes me nostalgic because whenever I think about all the fun stuff that I've done in this place, I kind of want that era to come back, but I'm also well aware that it never will. But the great thing about being nostalgic means that you're living in a different time or a different era. It can be good or it can be bad that you moved away from that. But by constantly moving forward, we get to see new places. We develop as humans. We find new things that we want to spend our time on moving forward in life. And if I were to live in the nostalgic era of my bodybuilding days and just keep on doing that, then that also means that I wouldn't be where I am today. I remember when I dropped things off when I was doing bodybuilding. There were so many people telling me that, no, you know what, you shouldn't do that because you have a great physique and you should stay in your lane, do what you're good at. While I do agree to a certain extent that staying in your lane when you're good at something is going to yield results, it's not always the thing that is going to be the best for you. And now that I look back at the time where I was doing bodybuilding, I'm super grateful for it because I learned so many different things. Say, for example, the merch, I wouldn't be able to know where to start if I didn't have the experience of my previous apparel brand in my back. I also probably wouldn't have the dedication and motivation to start something new if I didn't do the bodybuilding era. Because if there's something that you learn when you're doing bodybuilding, it's definitely that you need to stay consistent. You need to be aiming for the results that is going to be shown to you in like 3, 4, 5 years from now. And that is not an easy task. Trust me on that. But they also have the thoughts like, what if I stayed? What if I stayed and did that? But you can't live in a what if scenario. Like your life constantly moves. Our life constantly moves. Everyone's life constantly moves. Something that I'm always incredibly fascinated by is whenever I sit and drive my car to the old studio, and then all the cars that I pass by live their own life with their own thoughts, with their own people. And they are the main character of their own life. And then you drive past them without knowing where they're going, what they're going to do, what they've experienced in life, or anything like that. And therefore, I think it's very important to do the things that you want to do whenever you feel like you want to do it. Like if you think about pursuing something, you should not hesitate to do that. There will be so many people that is going to say, stay in your lanes, do your thing, don't move this direction, don't do that. But those are not the people that have done the things that you want to do. I remember when I was creating the Tri-Charge and I thought to myself, like, this is something that I've never done. How the hell am I going to be able to pull this off? And then I went on to buy the 3D printer without having any sort of experience, and then went into a program, tried to understand how it worked, and tried to figure my way out of that. And this is actually one of the first prototypes of the Tri-Charge. And do you see how fat the head of the Prime Gear logo is? And now I've actually dropped 3 of my own physical products. We have the Tri-Charge, we have Cyborg, and we have my Thunderbolt cables. So if I were to listen to the naysayers and the people that told me to stay in my lane and don't dabble down into 3D printing, then I probably wouldn't be where I am today with the experience and the knowledge that I currently have. And then there's another thing that is called comfort, because we seek comfort. We try to find something that we're comfortable with doing. Then as soon as we're comfortable with doing the things that we do, we want to keep doing that thing because it's comfortable. But during these last 15 years that I've been doing bodybuilding, running my own business, being a content creator, I also know that comfort is not something that we should rely on. Because as soon as something starts to feel comfortable and you start to rely on it, the shift from that point to discomfort is going to be very hard when it happens. And I'm going to be completely honest with you and say that over these last 2 to 3 years, I have been very comfortable in the position that I've been when I'm making these videos, when I'm thinking about what kind of content that I want to make. I've been comfortable. I haven't pushed myself in the way that I did previously. And it's kind of because I decided to prioritize other things rather than this YouTube channel as my main thing. I have spent way more time with the family. I'm constantly working from home. I am being a part of my son's life much more than what I was when Alexander grew up. And for me, that has been giving me personally incredible value. And sometimes you got to prioritize yourself in order to recognize where you want to go. I have been, one of those people that has been a part of the hustle culture. Like, you know what? We're gonna double down. We're gonna hustle more. We're gonna spend less time with the family and so on and so forth. And I'm gonna say that in a way, I'm probably always gonna love the running my own business thing because I'm an entrepreneur. I like doing things, I like creating things. But I think that the hustle culture, the way that it worked, the way that I did it, kind of needs to die down a little bit. Rather, I needed to take a break from it. I don't need to do it anymore because right now, we're coming back. We're making more videos. And as I said in my previous video, I want to bring you on the journey of what it is that I'm creating. I'm thinking more about the process of creation. I showed you in this video on how I made these hoodies with a heat transfer press, and I have been sharing my, story about how I found nostalgia to be one hell of a drug, but not something that you should rely on. And sometimes days like these, where I just have a couple of thoughts where I want to share with you, I feel like I want to tune in and do that. That was something that I did in the beginning of my YouTube career, if you may. But something that I stopped because of comfort. And I don't know. I don't want to be comfortable anymore. I want to find some discomfort.